There we go. That's right. The loading page. I'm not flipping anyone off. This is just how I use my hands. Okay. Starting soon. I am not prepared for this. How do I turn this shit off? Fuck. Loading page. Off. Weep. Yeah, I should probably have like a medley or something. A little jingle. But I don't. I'm late tonight. Am I dropping any frames? Yes, I'm dropping 30% of my frames. Excellent. I blame YouTube and the Wi-Fi's and Twitch and God. I blame God too. Alright, so I'm completely not prepared. I'm going to continue reading the DMG, the Dungeon Master's Guide. I'm going to try not to move too much because I know I'm dropping so many frames. If there's any problems, let me know in the chat. So I'm going to move around some stuff. Here's some mixing shells. That's right. Don't worry about those. A lot's happened since we last met. All right. So, the Dungeon Master's Guide in 5th edition. This is part 3. I always kind of thought that the DMG was, while a good book, kind of a lot of fluff. Like you didn't really need it. You would use it if you were being pedantic. If you're like, no, I must have those tables to roll randomly. I can't just make up shit, right? In part 2, as I was reading it, I kind of realized that there's a lot in that book that's pretty interesting, pretty innovative when it comes to running a tabletop role-playing game, and specifically a D20 kind of game. I think there's a lot of fluff still, but so this is part 3. We're going to see where it is. I was using Flip. How do you say that? Anywhere, anyflip.com, which is actually, it's a really good website. The thing is it taxes the computer, and my internet's shit, so I'm not doing that. Instead, I'm going to use this thing. And let me see here. I'm going to see. I think I actually wrote down where I got to last time. Someone remembers the page count. That'd be spectacular. Of course. I don't know. Hold on. I'll find out. Don't worry. I know it's somewhere. Doesn't that suck when you like write down, your notes, and then you look in your notes and they're not there? Anybody? Let's see. This is reading bullshit. No. The LNR. I know I wrote it down. Late night rant. It's not here. Alright, well, I'll guess. Who gives a shit? Right? If you want a link to the AnyFlip document, like if you don't have your own DMG and for some reason you want to read along, I can send that to you. Just let me know. If you don't let me know, I'm going to assume you don't care. Alright. I had not gotten too terribly far. Holy shit, is it literally in the book? Mother. I have a bookmark. Although I do think it's actually old. So, I know in part 1, I got to the languages because I had a big old hard-on about it. This section. And there's a little graphic of like Chinese-looking coins, like ancient Chinese-looking coins. Um, but I believe I got through this because I got into Renown, which is a really interesting mechanic I'd never even heard of. Specifically, piety. So essentially, with Renown, you can get points of Renown, and that can through roleplay. Like if you have so much Renown, which is given to you by the DM or the game master, uh, you can get like a title or whatever, and then maybe it's half price goods, or you can get free shit in game. It's all role play. But the interesting thing is you can tie that in. You can sort of flavor that renown and instead call it piety. And if you have so much piety for a certain god in the pantheon, um, or alignment, then you can get like low level spells. Like you're literally blessed, which is really interesting. Let's say you have some fighters, very martial classes. No one's the cleric, no one wants to play casters or whatever. And you can have a very like crusade style, or jihad style like game, uh, and still have magic in it. And it all is through roleplay and such. That's pretty cool. And you can lose it and blah blah blah. Okay, so restrictions on magic, teleportation circles, creating a campaign. So I'm on page 23. I think that's where I'm going to start. No, because this is the Gentarum, which is a faction of mages. I know I got past this. And I remember not liking all the lore on it. I mean, it's kind of cool. Like, it says teleportation circles. I know what that is. Oh, they exist certain places, they don't others. I've watched Stargate. I know what the teleportation circle is. Come on. Creating campaign. That's where we're going to start. We're going to start on page 25 of the DMG. And hopefully you like it. And hopefully these ads, pre-roll ads, I have 5 minutes before another one runs. Can I run ads? Let's see. Follower only chat, snooze ads. It's taken away my little option to run ads. That's annoying. Oh well, whatever. Okay. And I'm about 10 minutes in. This is a thing I've been trying. At what point do you really start the real podcast? Because you've got the pre-roll ads going on. All right, so here we go. Creating a campaign. The world you create is the stage for the adventures you set in it. You don't have to give more thought to it than that. You can run adventures in an episodic format, with the characters as the only common element, and also weave themes throughout those adventures to build a greater saga of the characters' achievements in the world. Planning an entire campaign might seem like a daunting task, but you don't have to plot out every detail right from the start. You can start with the basics, running a few adventures, and think about larger plot lines you want to explore as the campaign progresses. You're free to add as much or as little detail as you wish. The start of a campaign resembles the start of an adventure. You want to jump quickly into the action, show the players that adventure awaits, and grab their attention right away, kind of like I did with this podcast. No? Give the players enough information to make them want to come back week after week to see how the story plays out. I know I've read this, because I remember being like, bullshit. Start small. When you first start building your campaign, start small. Okay? The characters need to know only about the city, town, or village where they start the game, and perhaps the nearby dungeon. You might decide that the barony is at war with a nearby duchy, or that a distant forest is crawling with ettercaps and giant spiders. Gross. And you should note these things. But at the start of the game, the local area is enough to get the campaign off the ground. Follow these steps to create that local area. 1. Create a home base. See the Settlements section earlier in this chapter for guidance on building this settlement. A small town or village at the edge of the wilderness serves as a fine home base in most D&D campaigns. Use a larger town or city if you want a campaign with urban adventuring. 2. Delve. Create a local region. See Mapping the Campaign. Earlier in this chapter for guidance, draw a map at province scale, 1 hex equals 1 mile. If you're into that, do it. With the home base near the center, fill in the area within a day's travel, about 25 to 30 miles, of the home base. Pepper it with 2 to 4 dungeons or similar adventure locales. An area that size is likely to have 1 to 3 additional settlements, as well as the home base, so give thought to them as well. 3. Craft a starting adventure. A single dungeon makes a good first adventure for most campaigns. See Chapter 3, Creating Adventures, for guidance. A home base provides a common starting location for the characters. The starting point might be the village where they grew up, or a city that attracted them from points beyond. Or perhaps they begin the campaign in the dungeons of an evil baron's castle, where they've been locked up for various reasons, legitimate or otherwise, throwing them into the midst of the adventure. A little tropey, but I've done it. For each of these steps, give the locations only as much detail as they need. You don't need to identify every building in the village or label every street in a large city. If the characters start in the Baron's dungeon, you'll need the details of the first adventure site, but you don't have to name all the Baron's knights. Sketch out a simple map, think about the surrounding area, and consider whom the characters are most likely to interact with early in the campaign. You'll be fooled, my dear DMs. Most important, visualize how this area fits into the theme and story you have in mind for your campaign. Then start working on your first adventure. Most important or most importantly? Question. Set the stage. Oh, I need to run an ad break. This is a good point. I'm going to run an ad break. We're going to give it 2 minutes, just because no one's watching yet, and yeah, it would be 2 minutes. Then again, even if no one's live watching, this is still going on YouTube, so I guess I can talk. So why read through the DMG? Online. Well, one, I've been thinking about content, and the realization that aside from the Monday night game, Richmond Fay, I want to do something else, and I'm not ready to read through the actual Dreadlore core book, although that is coming. So, late night rant makes sense. But when I don't have a guest, I'm like, well, what's something that I'm interested in and that potentially other people are interested in? I know that I've actually watched a couple different, or I should say I usually do watch a couple different DM channels. And one specific one was this dude who was reading through the original, or not the original, the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, so AD&D core book. And I don't have that book, and I thought it was really interesting. He didn't get very far, and I can't remember. It wasn't It was not Professor Dungeon Master. Can't remember the guy's name, but he's pretty. If you guys are into watching D&D shit online, you've seen this dude. He's very solid. A lot of OSR, old school revival stuff, and It's pretty interesting. Got 15 seconds. That was a fast 2 minutes, goddammit. If anyone has any suggestions of what else I could read, let me know. If you want more comments, less comments, probably won't listen. Okay. So, right. Set the stage. As you start to develop your campaign, you'll need to fill the players. You'll need to fill in the players on the basics. For easy distribution, compile essential information into a campaign handout. Such a handout typically includes the following material. I feel like someone wrote this because they were paid, not because this is good info. Bullet point 1. Any restrictions or new options for character creation, such as new or prohibited races. Any information in the backstory of your campaign that the characters would know about. If you have a theme or direction in mind for the campaign, this information could include seeds hinting at that focus. Basic information about the area where the characters are starting, such as the name of the town, important locations in and around it, prominent NPCs they know about, and perhaps rumors that point to trouble that's brewing. Keep this handout short and to the point. 2 pages is a reasonable maximum. Even if you have a burst of creative energy that produces 20 pages of great background material, save it for your adventures. Let the players uncover the details gradually in play. Involving the characters. Oh yeah, them. Once you've identified what your campaign is about, let the players help tell the story by deciding how their characters are involved. This is their opportunity to tie their character's history and background to the campaign, and a chance for you to determine how the various elements of each character's background tie into the campaign's story. For example, what secret has the hermit character learned? What is the status of the noble character's family? What is the folk hero's destiny? Some players might have trouble coming up with ideas. No. Not everyone is equally inventive. You can help spur their creativity with a few questions about their characters. Weird holding this book. I need like a little stand. Here are the questions. Coming at you. Ready for it? Are you a native? Born and raised in the area? Are you a townie? If so, who's your family? What's your current occupation? What's your job, yo? Are you a recent arrival? Where did you come from? Why did you come to this area? Why are you in the game? Are you tied to any of the organizations or people involved in the events that kick off the campaign? Are they friends or enemies? Listen to the players' ideas and say yes if you can. Even if you want all the characters to have grown up in the starting town, consider allowing a recent arrival or a transplant if the player's story is convincing enough. Suggest alterations to a character's story so it better fits your world, or weave the first threads of your campaign into that story. Creating a background. Backgrounds are designed to root player characters in the world, and creating new backgrounds is a great way to introduce players to the special features of your world. Backgrounds that have ties to particular cultures, organizations, and historical events from your campaign are particularly strong. Perhaps the priests of a certain religion live as beggars, supported by a pious populace, singing the tales of their deities' exploits to entertain and enlighten the faithful. You could create a mendicant. What the fuck word is that? Mendicant. 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 Never heard that word. You could create a mendicant priest background or modify the acolyte background to reflect these qualities. It could include musical instrument proficiency, and its feature probably involves receiving hospitality from the faithful. Guidelines for creating a new background are provided in Chapter 9, Dungeon Master's Workshop, which I have looked at and I actually kind of dig. Let me look up that word really quick. Mendicant. Mendicant. Mendicant, depending on alms for a living, practicing begging. So, mendicant, one who practices mendicancy and relies chiefly or exclusively on alms to survive. So, mendicans means begging. Right. So a beggar priest. Kind of cool. Campaign events. Significant events in the history of a fantasy world tend towards immense upheavals, wars that pit the forces of good against evil in an epic confrontation, natural disasters that lay waste to entire civilizations, invasions of vast armies, or extraplanar hordes, assassinations of world leaders. These world-shaking events title the chapters of history. In a D&D game, such events provide the sparks that can ignite and sustain a campaign. The most common pitfall of serial stories without a set beginning, middle, and end is inertia. Like many television shows and comic book series, a D&D campaign runs the risk of retreading the same ground long after the enjoyment's gone. Just as actors or writers drift away from those other mediums, so can players, the actors and writers of a D&D game. Games stagnate when the story meanders too long without a change in tone, when the same villains and similar adventures grow tiresome and predictable, and when the world doesn't change around the characters and in response to their actions. World-shaking events force conflict. They set new events and power groups in motion. Their outcomes change the world by altering the tone of the setting in a meaningful way. They chronicle the story okay, guys. So, I have read this. I remember getting bored of it. You know what? It's all the different kinds of campaign types, and we've already done this. I got, I think, to character names. Yep, because I went through playstyle, hack and slash, immersive storytelling, something in between. Yeah, we've done this. Okay. And I put this in there to remember. Damn my eyes. I forgot. Okay. I got my heater on. It's hot as a motherfucker in here. Let me turn that bitch off real quick. Damn, I'm on page 36. Character names. Part of your campaign style has to do with naming characters. It's a good idea to establish some ground rules with your players at the start of a new campaign. No, I'm going to use Boba Fett. In a group consisting of Sithis, Travak, Anastriana, and Karan, the human fighter named Bob Number 2 sticks out. I've read this. Let's go to Tiers of Play. Still page 36. As characters grow in power, their ability to change the world around them grows with them. It helps to think ahead when creating your campaign to account for this change. As the characters make a greater impact on the world, they face greater danger whether they want to or not. Powerful factions see them as a threat and plot against them, while friendly ones court their favor in hopes of striking a useful alliance. The Tiers of Play represent the ideal milestones for introducing new world-shaking events to the campaign. As the characters resolve one event, a new danger arises or the prior trouble transforms into a new threat in response to the character's actions. Events need to grow in magnitude and scope, increasing the stakes and drama as the characters become increasingly powerful. I disagree with this. This approach also allows you to break your design work down into smaller pieces. What? This approach also allows you to break your design work down into smaller pieces. Okay. Create materials such as adventures, NPCs, maps, and so on for one tier at a time. You only need to worry about the details of the next tier as the characters approach it. Even better, as the campaign takes unexpected turns in response to the player's choices, you don't have to worry about redoing much work. Levels 1 through 4, the local heroes. Characters in this tier are still learning the range of class features that define them, including their choice of specialization. But even first level characters are heroes, set apart from the common people by natural characteristics, learned skills, and the hint of a greater destiny that lies before them. At the start of their careers, characters used first and second level spells and wield mundane gear. The magic items they find include common, consumable items, potions, and scrolls, and a few uncommon, permanent items. Their magic can have a big impact in a single encounter, but it doesn't change the course of an adventure. The fate of a village might hang on the success or failure of low-level adventurers who trust their lives to their fledgling abilities. These characters navigate dangerous terrain and explore haunted crypts, where they can expect to fight savage orcs, ferocious wolves, giant spiders, I always with the spider, evil cultists, bloodthirsty ghouls, and hired thugs. If they face even a young dragon, they're better off avoiding a fight. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. No one avoids a fight in 5th Ed. Do they? Do they? Is that part in OSR, in Old School Revival, avoiding a fight is a deal. But is avoiding a fight a deal in 5th edition? I don't know. I feel like the game rewards people for going full tilt and then sleeping, because sleep gets you all your hit points and spells back. Okay. Levels 5 through 10. Heroes of the Realm. By the time they reach this tier, adventurers have mastered the basics of their class features, though they continue to improve throughout these levels. They have found their place in the world and have begun to involve themselves in the dangers that surround them. It's like being 30. Dedicated spellcasters learn 3rd level spells at the start of this tier. Suddenly, characters can fly, damage large numbers of foes with fireball and lightning bolt spells, and even breathe underwater, assuming they're wizards. My players all are fighters and rogues, dude. They master 5th level spells by the end of the tier, and spells such as Teleportation Circle, Scrying, Flame Strike, Legend Lures, and Raise Dead can have significant impact on their adventures. They start acquiring more permanent magic items, uncommon and rare ones as well, which will serve them for the rest of their careers. The fate of a region might depend on the adventures that characters of levels 5 to 10 undertake. These adventurers venture into fearsome wilds and ancient ruins, where they confront savage giants. Again, ferocious hydras, fearless golems, even evil UNT, scheming devils, bloodthirsty demons, crafty mind flayers, and drow assassins. They might have a chance of defeating a young dragon that has established a lair, but not yet extended its reach far into the surrounding territory. Whatever, man. Richmond Fae, they're like level 10, 11. I guess they're on the precipice of levels 11 through 16, Masters of the Realm. By 11th level, characters are shining examples of murder hobos. Excuse me, that's not what it says. Shining examples of horrible... that's not what it says either. Examples of courage and determination. True paragons in the world, set well apart from the masses. At this tier, adventurers are far more versatile than they were at lower levels, and they can usually find the right tool for a given challenge, aka throw the book at them. Dedicated spellcasters gain access to 6th level spells at 11th level, including spells that completely change the way adventurers interact with the world. Their big, flashy spells are significant in combat. Disintegrate, Blade Barrier, and Heal, for example. But behind-the-scenes spells such as Word of Recall, Find the Path, Contingency, Teleport, and True Seeing, no joke, alter the way players approach their adventures. Each spell level after that point introduces new effects with an equally large impact. The adventurers find rare magic items and very rare ones that bestow similarly powerful abilities. The fate of a nation, or even the world, depends on momentous quests that such characters undertake. Adventurers explore uncharted regions and delve into long-forgotten dungeons, where they confront terrible masterminds of the lower planes, cunning Rakshasas, and beholders, and hungry purple worms. They might encounter and even defeat a powerful adult dragon that has established a lair and a significant presence in the world. Rakshasas. So, I threw a Rakshasa, I think they were 5th level. The thing is, they weren't pitted against the Rakshasa. It was just it was a bitch move on my part. Whatever. Soon, they will come into conflict. Richmond Fay will come into conflict. The Marad will come into conflict with Baraduk, the Rakshasa, assuming that they continue to not honor their deal. Okay. At this tier, which is Masters of the Realm, levels 11 to 16, adventurers make their mark on the world in a variety of ways, from the consequences of their adventures to the manner in which they spend their hard-won treasure and exploit their well-deserved reputations. Characters of this level construct fortresses on land deeded them by local rulers. They found guilds, temples, or martial orders. They take on apprentices or students of their own. They broker peace between nations or lead them into war, and their formidable reputations attract the attention of very powerful foes. Levels 17 through 20. Masters of the World. By 17th level, you just stop. Characters have super-heroic capabilities, and their deeds and adventures are the stuff of legend. Ordinary people can hardly dream of such heights of power or such terrible dangers. Dedicated spellcasters at this tier wield earth-shattering 9th level spells such as Wish, Gate, Storm of Vengeance, and Astral Projection. Characters have several rare and very rare magic items at their disposal and begin discovering legendary items such as a Vorpal sword or a staff of the Magi. They've definitely encountered that before. Adventures at these levels have far-reaching consequences, possibly determining the fate of millions in the material plane and even places beyond. Characters traverse otherworldly realms and explore demiplanes and other extraplanar locales where they fight savage Balor demons, titans, archdevils, lich archmages, and even avatars of the gods themselves. The dragons they encounter are wyrms of tremendous power, whose sleep troubles kingdoms and whose waking threatens existence itself. Characters who reach 20th level have attained the pinnacle of mortal achievement. Their deeds are recorded in the annals of history and recounted by bards for centuries. Their ultimate destinies come to pass. A cleric might be taken up into the heavens to serve as a god's right hand. A warlock could become a patron to other warlocks. Perhaps a wizard unlocks the secret to immortality or undeath, and spends eons exploring the furthest reaches of the multiverse. A druid might become one with the land, transforming into a nature spirit of a particular place or an aspect of the wild. Other characters could found clans or dynasties that revere the memory of their honored ancestors from generation to generation. Create masterpieces of epic literature that are sung and retold for thousands of years, and establish guilds or orders that keep the adventurer's principles and dreams alive. Reaching this point doesn't necessarily dictate the end of the campaign. These powerful characters might be called on to undertake grand adventures on the cosmic stage, and as a result of these adventures, their capabilities can continue to evolve. Characters gain no more levels at this point, but they can still advance in meaningful ways and continue performing epic deeds that resound throughout the multiverse. Chapter 7 details epic boons you can use as rewards for these characters to maintain a sense of progress. It's interesting, in the old school AD&D, pretty sure, when you got to like level 19, level 20, the book just says, cut it out. Just retire your characters, because they can kind of murder everything in the monster manual. And then they came out with the epic level handbook in 3.0, and it was interesting. Starting at higher level. Experienced players familiar with the capabilities of the character classes and impatient for more significant adventures might welcome the idea of starting a campaign with characters above first level. Creating a higher level character uses the same character creation steps outlined in the player's handbook, the old PHB. Such a character has more hit points, class features, and spells, and probably starts with better equipment. Starting equipment for characters above first level is entirely at your discretion, since you give out treasure at your own pace. That said, you can use the starting equipment table as a guide. I've done this, haven't I? Motherfucker. Have I already read all of this? I feel like I read this. I feel like I was reading through this and then just skipped a bunch of it because I was like, this is boring. So I actually have read this. I remember this weird picture. Yeah. I don't know what's going on there. Oh, Lord. Crossing the streams. Yeah, I've done all this. I was on chapter 2, creating multiverse. Presses. What's up, Steve? Pretty sure most RPGs, online and offline, is mostly murder hobos. Truth. Murder hobos. Listen, there's nothing wrong with some murder hoboing. Where did that term come from? I feel like it came about only within the last few years. Maybe I'm wrong. Probably wrong. Okay. Chapter 2. Creating a multiverse. When adventurers reach higher levels, their path extends to other dimensions of reality, the planes of existence that form the multiverse. The characters might be called on to rescue a friend from the horrific depths of the abyss, or to sail the shining waters of the river Oceanus. They can hoist a tankard with the friendly giants of Ysgard, or face the chaos of Limbo to contact a wizened Githzerai sage. Planes of existence define the extremes of strange and often dangerous environments. The most bizarre locations present settings undreamed of in the natural world. Planar adventures often offer unprecedented dangers and wonders. Adventurers walk on the streets made of solid fire, or test their mettle on a battlefield where the fallen are resurrected with each dawn. So this is Planescape, which is my favorite setting. And typically in Planescape, you want to be a little bit higher level. If you're a primer, if you're from the material plane, typically you're not going to get into the outer planes before 8th or 9th level. But I don't really see a problem of getting there prior to that. In fact, it's kind of cool Because most planar beings or outsiders are, at least in Planescape, are of a low level. I'm not talking about the monsters like Balor, and which are essentially Balrogs, or like demons and shit. I'm talking about like the normal Burks, the normal people. They're first, second, third, fourth, fifth, maybe level. Um, every so often you run into someone who's a high level, but what you realize in the planes is your personal power is important, of course, but what's more important is the understanding and the knowledge of that plane of existence and how it works. Uh, Knowing how to use gate keys, knowing, you know, where to find information so that you can get from one point to the next and not just be murdered. Um, yeah. Okay. That's my own spiel. Anyway, I guess it's my reasoning for in my games in D&D, if I'm going to send people into the planes, which I normally do, uh, I'm perfectly fine sending them there at low levels because you can do so much with it. Okay. The planes, according to the DMG in 5th edition. The various planes of existence are realms of myth and mystery. They're not simply other worlds, but dimensions formed and governed by spiritual and elemental principles. The outer planes are realms of spirituality and thought. They are the spheres where celestials, fiends, and deities exist. The plane of Elysium, for example, isn't merely a place where good creatures dwell, and not even simply the place where spirits of good creatures go when they die. It is the plane of goodness, a spiritual realm where evil can't flourish. It is as much a state of being and of mind as it is a physical location. The inner planes exemplify the physical essence and elemental nature of earth, fire, wind, water, heart, air, earth, fire, and water. The elemental plane of fire, for example, embodies the essence of fire. The plane's entire substance is suffused with the fundamental nature of fire: energy, passion, transformation, and destruction. Even objects of solid brass or basalt seem to dance with flame, in a visible and palpable manifestation of the vibrancy of fire's dominion. In this context, the material plane is the nexus where all these philosophical and elemental forces collide in the jumbled existence of mortal life and matter. The worlds of D&D exist within the material plane, making it the starting point for most campaigns and adventures. The rest of the multiverse is defined in relation to the material plane. Eh, eh, yeah. I mean, that's a setting. That's setting. If you're going to play in Greyhawk, which is a setting, it's sort of like the run-of-the-mill D&D setting. I kind of get it. I've noticed the 5th edition books have a real hard-on for the Forgotten Realms, and Faerun and Eberron, which, truth be told, I know a little bit about Forgotten Realms. The other ones I really don't. I know one of them has red priests. I think that's, I don't fucking know what it is. Anyway, those are very setting specific, and I feel like the DMG is really pushing a narrative, which is to say, it's saying, hey, keep it simple, keep it in the material plane. And all the fancy shit, all the super high-powered, spiritual, philosophical nonsense, that's in the planes, and that's where magic comes from. And that's a fine setting. I don't think there's any problem with it. But I think the 2nd edition take on the planes, specifically the setting Planescape, is so much more robust. And it makes more sense. It's a lot less myopic than, just the same story over and over and over that like all the D&D movies and all that stuff do. It's just the same story over and over. I think you can get a lot more out of the planes than what this is giving. But I'm going to keep on reading because who wants to hear me bitch? Okay. Planar categories. The planes are the default D&D cosmology. Oops. The planes of the default D&D cosmology are grouped in the following categories: the material plane and its echoes. Huh. The Feywild and the Shadowfell are reflections of the material plane. That's kind of like, well, maybe it's not. It reminds me of, if you've seen that movie Constantine, or Hellblazer, I think is the comic. Like it's like everything is sort of sandwiched on itself. The transitive planes. The ethereal plane and the astral plane are mostly featureless planes that serve primarily as pathways to travel from one plane to the other, or to another. The inner planes. Interesting, the formatting of this book right here, of this portion of the book, I actually used in Dreadlore. If you can see how it has, sorry, how it has like the bold. Anyway, I actually really dig that. The inner planes, the four elemental planes: air, earth, fire, and water. Where's Heart, man? Plus the elemental chaos that surrounds them are the inner planes. Also, it calls it elemental chaos, and I'm pretty sure it calls it, uh, what is it? Philostrogen? Philostrogen? Let me look that up really quick, because I think it's interesting. It's actually a philosophical thing. Um, it's not philostrogen. I can't remember the name of it. Fuck. Let's see. D&D, Planescape, map of planes. I'm pretty sure it'll actually say it on here on this map that I'm looking up. Come on, Pinterest, don't slut me. Let me see it. Fucker. Fuck Pinterest, man. Phlogiston. Phlogiston. And I think it means like, it's like the primal fire or something. Phlogiston. Let's see. Phlogiston. Is that right? Yeah, phlogiston is a theory that is wrong, of course. It was superseded by scientific theory. Phlogiston theory postulates that the existence of a fire-like element called phlogiston, contained with combustible bodies and released during combustion. So it's Greek, I'm pretty sure. Basically, space is made of phlogiston. And in second edition D&D, or Planescape, I should say, which is in the second edition, the sort of goop that is between the material planes is the phlogiston. It's like the aether, kind of. Let's see. So phlogiston theory tries to explain combustion, rusting, and oxidation, or combustion and rusting. And it's all based on the four elements: water, earth, fire, and air. Let me see. Right. I'm just going too deep into that, but you get the idea. So instead of elemental chaos, it was phlogiston. And like, I get how elemental chaos is more approachable for people, but are they even reading this? Like, just call it phlogiston. Like, I don't enjoy how D&D has dumbed itself down. I don't think it's any more approachable. I mean, there's so many cool words and theories and all these, philosophies that you can gain from this stuff. Don't dumb it down. Okay. The outer planes. 16 outer planes correspond to the 8 non-neutral alignments and shades of philosophical difference between them. The positive and negative planes. These two planes enfold the rest of the cosmology, providing the raw forces of life and death that underlie the rest of existence in the multiverse. So it makes it more contiguous, I think, or explainable. I don't know. There's surely a map in here of all of it. It's got some really good art. Going on. Yeah, the second edition version, it's very whimsical about all of this, which I can understand them kind of being like, we need to dumb that down, but I don't think they should have. Okay, putting the planes together as described in the PHB. The assumed D&D cosmology includes more than 24 planes. For your campaign, you decide what planes to include, inspired by the standard planes, drawn from Earth's myths, or created by your own imagination. At minimum, most D&D campaigns require these elements. A plane of origin for fiends, celestials, elementals, for deities, a place where mortal spirits go after death, which might include any or all of the above, a way of getting from one plane to another, a way for spells and monsters that use the astral plane and the ethereal plane to function. Once you've decided on the planes you want to use in your campaign, putting them into a coherent cosmology is an optional step. Since the primary way of traveling from plane to plane, even using the transitive planes, is through magical portals that link planes together, the exact relationship of different planes to one another is largely a theoretical concern. No being in the multiverse can look down on and see the planes in their arrangement the same way as we look at a diagram in a book. What? No mortal can verify whether Mount Celestia is sandwiched between Bitopia and Arcadia, but it's a convenient theoretical construct based on the philosophical shading among the three planes and the relative importance they give to law and good. I get this kind of writing. I understand. They're trying to say, do what you want, dude. Do whatever you want. At the same time, have the balls. have the testicular fortitude to tell us what the cosmology is. And then, if we're going to house rule it, we're going to house rule it, What does Steve have to say? Sounds like the usage of extremely volatile spiritual energy that exists naturally in the universe in the case of some stories I recall. Yeah, I think it's exactly that. Though in same said story, spiritual energy has two states, and as you progress your mastery over energy usage, you can make it active and much stronger. Yeah, see, that's what I'm talking about. Using just a word like that, phlogiston, and then that compels someone to look it up, to start researching it, and you start getting into all these cool theories of these other cultures, which is where all of this comes from. Very little of this is actually, it's creative, but it's more of like a compilation. It's like a collection of ideas. I just think it's more interesting to have a cool word and be like, take the time to investigate it and be creative with it, rather than elemental chaos. There's the positive and the negative, and it drives it all. Like in old D&D, they were like, you got the axiomatic forces and the chaos forces. I don't know. They were just a little bit more bold. I mean, this is a dense game, dude. Like, this book in and of itself has over 300 pages and around, I believe it's 250,000 words. That's a Haas book. And you need 3 books very similar to this. This, the PHB, and the Monster Manual to actually play and run this game. You're talking around 1,000,000 words. I mean, 1,000 pages. It's a dense game, is what I'm trying to say. Make it dense, like make it something you could delve into. I think the reward is there, other than as opposed to have some vanilla generic game. Like anyway, Steve says usually I hear the word primordial chaos for naturally occurring events on creationism. Yeah, well, I mean, there's a whole idea of Call of Cthulhu, H.P. Lovecraft stuff. I think I mean, the idea of something that is primordial, I have no idea where it comes from. I'm sure it's a very old idea, But I know in in Cthulhu mythos and in D&D mythos, the idea that what is beyond the universe is chaos. I mean, even in like Marvel and stuff, right? Isn't I'm not really a Marvel buff, but I believe it goes into that as well. Like the idea that, well, I mean, going into Tolkien, Morgoth is evil, but Eru Ilúvatar created Morgoth or Melkor, and Melkor is this object of change and um, chaos. Like there's a necessary element there, is what I'm trying to get at. Like it's not necessarily negative or evil, and this kind of paints it. I don't know. Maybe I'm going too far with this. Okay, I will continue reading. Sages have constructed a few such theoretical models to make sense of the jumble of planes, particularly the outer planes. The 3 most common are the Great Wheel, the World Tree, and the World Axis. But you can create or adapt whatever model works best for the planes you want to use in your game. Now, there's some history here. D&D it's kind of like with that movie, that one movie, The Matrix. It's a compilation of a lot of different things. And so I think in Planescape they tried to make it all cohesive to an extent. And I think they did a really good job, because they gave some great amounts of leeway, but still with a good vector, a good direction, and energy going. This is trying to say you can think about the planes in any of these 3 ways. Just choose one to do for yourself. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with it. I guess it's just presenting it in a far less interesting way. Okay. The Great Wheel. The default cosmological arrangement presented in the PHB visualizes the planes as a group of concentric wheels, with the material plane and its echoes at the center. The inner planes form a wheel around the material plane enveloped in the ethereal plane. Then the outer planes form another wheel around and behind, or above or below, that one, arranged according to alignment, with the outlets linking them all. This arrangement makes sense of the way the river Styx flows among the lower planes, connecting Acheron, the 9 hells, which should be called Beator, Gehenna, Hades, Carcery, the Abyss, and Pandemonium, like beads on a string. But it's not the only possible explanation of the river's course. The Veld tree, Yggdrasil ask. A different arrangement of planes envisions them situated among the roots and branches of a great cosmic tree, literally or figuratively. For example, the Norse cosmology centers on the world tree Yggdrasil. the ash tree. The three roots of the world tree touch the three realms. Yes, they do. Asgard, an outer plane that includes Valhalla, Vanaheim, Alfheim, and other regions. Midgard, the material plane. And Niflheim, the underworld. The Bifrost, the Rainbow Bridge, is a unique transitive plane that connects Asgard and Midgard. So basically, if you want to play Thor. Similarly, one vision of the planes where the deities of the Forgotten Realms, fucking Forgotten Realms, man, reside, situates a number of celestial planes in the branches of a world tree, while the fiendish planes are linked by a river of blood. Neutral planes stand apart from them. Each of these planes is primarily the domain of one or more deities, though they are also the homes of celestial and fiendish creatures. Another thing about Planescape is you can traverse the world tree to get to different places, as well as the infinite stair, but that's not here thus far. The Veld axis, I wonder if it's going to talk about sigil here, not sigil. Listen, I know, in one of these damned books, it pronounces the city, sigil, which is S-I-G-I-L, as sigil. That's the pronunciation guide. Technically, it is, because Planescape was trying to be weird. But sigil sounds stupid. Okay. I digress. The world axis. In this view of the cosmos, the material plane and its echoes stand between two opposing realms. What lies between the butt and the dick? Sorry. The astral plane, or astral sea, floats above them. Sounds a lot like Vampire the Masquerade. Holding any number of divine domains, the outer planes. Okay. Below the material plane is the elemental chaos, a single, undifferentiated elemental plane where all the elements clash together. At the bottom of the elemental chaos is the abyss, like a hole torn in the fabric of the cosmos. Come on. So the world axis is, that's White Wolf, baby. That's the world of darkness. I mean, am I wrong, Steve? Doesn't that sound like the astral plane and the abyss? Whatever. Other visions. As you build your own cosmology, consider the following alternatives. The omniverse. This simple cosmology covers the bare minimum. You know what I'm talking about? A material plane, the transitive planes, a single elemental chaos, and over heaven, where good aligned deities and celestials live, and the underworld, where evil deities and fiends live. That's the omniverse. Myriad planes. In this cosmology, countless planes clump together like soap bubbles, intersecting with each other, more or less at random. The orrery. All the inner and outer planes orbit the material plane, exerting greater or lesser influence on the world as they come nearer and farther. The world of Eberron uses this cosmological model. Okay? The winding road. Winding road, okay? In this cosmology, every plane is a stop along an infinite road. Each plane is adjacent to two others, but there's no necessary cohesion between adjacent planes. A traveler can walk from the slopes of Mount Celestia onto the slopes of Gehenna. This is a Planescape idea as well. It also really reminds me of The Gunslinger, the Stephen King stuff. Mount Olympus. Just watch Clash of the Titans. There you go. Oh, fine, I'll read it. And Steve says it does. It does. It reminds me of that. Okay. Mount Olympus. In the Greek cosmology, Mount Olympus stands at the center of the world, the material plane, with its peak so high that it's actually another plane of existence. Olympus, the home of the gods. All the Greek gods, except Hades, have their own domains within Olympus. In Hades, named for its ruler, mortal souls linger as insubstantial shades until they eventually fade into nothing. Nothing! Tartarus, where the Titans are imprisoned in endless darkness, lies below Hades. And far to the west of the known world in the material plane are the blessed Elysian fields. The souls of great heroes reside there. Solar barge. The Egyptian cosmology is defined by the daily path of the sun, across the side of the material plane, down to the fair offering fields in the west, where the souls of the righteous live in eternal reward, and then beneath the world through the nightmarish 12 hours of night. The solar barge is a tiny outer plane in its own right, though it exists within the astral plane and the outer planes in the different stages of its journey. Basically, watch Gods of Egypt. I think that kind of says it. One world. In this model, there are no other planes of existence. You fucked. But the material plane includes places like the bottomless abyss, the shining Mount Celestia, the strange city of Mechanus, the fortress of Akron, and so on. All the planes are locations in the world reachable by ordinary means of travel, though extraordinary effort is required, for example, to sail across the sea to the blessed Isles of Elysium. That's pretty cool. It reminds me of Tolkien. You know, it's before things are sundered, so you can just kind of get places. And that would be an interesting world, I think, to game in. It's not as large in scope as Planescape, but it still could be as interesting if the distances. I mean, essentially, it is the same. Whatever. The other world. In this model, the material plane has a twin realm that fills the role of all the other planes, Bizarro Land. Much like the Feywild, it overlays the material plane and can be reached through thin places. They stole that from my game. They didn't. But where the worlds are particularly close. Through caves by sailing far across the sea, or in fairy rings in remote forests. It has dark, evil regions, homes of fiends and evil gods, sacred isles, homes of celestials and the spirits of the blessed death. Whoa. And realms of elemental fury. This other world seems sometimes overseen by an eternal... Wait, what? This other world is sometimes overseen by an eternal city, or by 4 cities that each represent a different aspect of reality. The Celtic cosmology has an other world called Tir na Nog. I definitely mispronounced that. And the cosmologies of some religions inspired by Asian myth have a similar spirit world. Whew. Lord Almighty. See, I've been on an hour. All right, I'm going to wrap this up. As we go into Planar Travel. All right. Planar Travel. When adventurers travel to other planes of existence, they undertake a legendary journey that might force them to face supernatural guardians and undergo various ordeals. The nature of that journey and the trials along the way depend in part on the means of travel, and whether the adventurers find a magic portal or use a spell to carry them. And that is where we're going to end tonight. I need to put my little deal on my jig. We're ending on page 44. You know what? I know where I wrote my notes. I was complaining earlier about not knowing where I needed to start in the book. I wrote it in the description of the last YouTube video of the part 2. And I just didn't look. Well, hold on. I'm not to chapter 3. I'm at Planar Travel. This is chapter 2, Planar Travel, page 45. And look at that graphic. It's a dwarf getting his gate on. It's pretty cool. A lot of really good art in 5th edition, I think. I think that's Acererak, the Lich, which I believe that's Tomb of Horrors. Anyway, so that's what I'm going to do for tonight. Steve, thanks for jumping in, man. I appreciate you hanging out and hanging out. I know the stream is not tidy because my frame rate is shit, but you know my internet's not the best. If any of you have any questions, please ask. If you want me to read something specific, ask. No problem, helps me pass time at work. Well, good. Hopefully my bitching and moaning isn't too rough to listen to. Yeah, I listen to podcasts too. Anyway, that's what I got. And I'll continue reading this thing. Once I get the Dreadlore book, I mean, the book's finished, but I've got some edits to do. And I also want to finish this. Like, I actually do want to read this book. But I may change it up. My plan is to actually do this live stream more often because I just got some time opened up. So I may sometimes do the DMG and sometimes just do the Dreadlore book because I need to start promoting that. It is the name of the channel. You can adjust bitrate and resolution to make it smoother. Do you have any idea what bitrate to actually use? I can actually show you or tell you what bitrate I'm using right now. Because I've done a little bit of research on it. And my bitrate is pretty slow right now. So I'm running at resolution at 1920 by 1080. And I'm rescaling down to 1280 by 720. So my bit rate is at 2300. Let's see. Twitch caps for non-partners down to between 50 and 24K. Right. So I'm at 2300. I'm at like a really low bit rate. And the reason is because, I mean, obviously the internet. The keyframe is 2, which I've noticed is pretty nice. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I've got the variable rate, so the VBR rate control. I've wondered, should I change the base canvas resolution? So 1920 by 1080 is what I'm using. Scaled down to, what did I say before? 1280 by 720. So this is what I'm using. And then my bit rate is 2300. My upload speed is like 2 megabits. Is that what it is? Yeah, it's really slow. It's technically fast internet, but it's really slow. I am plugged in with Ethernet rather than Wi-Fi, so at home, this is probably what I'm going to get right now. Yeah, I'm on a wired connection. And it could also be, I've got a really good router, but I probably should power cycle it directly before the stream, just to, and maybe that whole, like, I've been told that when you run an internet speed test, then it actually, like, resets the throttling on your, I don't know. I don't know if any of that's just conspiracy theory or not. Yeah, 2 megabits, pretty slow, or pretty low. No doubt, dude. Actually, let me see, speed test internet. Like, I'm pretty sure it's just slow as fuck right now. Let's find out. Also, out here in the East, fiber internet is a thing, but it is just starting. So, yeah, my download is just, I've got like the basic bitch internet, dude. Like, just enough to stream. Now, the other place that we actually do Richmond Fay, the D&D game on Monday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard, they have better internet. I want to say he's got like 400 down, 200 up, something like that. And he might actually have fiber now. I'm not sure. Yeah, so my upload rate right now is 1.5. I think this is probably the best I'm going to get until I can get out to California and get better stuff. You see, you say I want fiber internet, but Xfinity won't give me nice things. So you get gigabit down and 50 up. So you probably have no problem then actually streaming. But I do. Damn it. Okay. So I'm gonna get off here. Steve, thanks for jumping on. Everyone else, when you see this, let me know what you think in terms of the content, and if there's anything you specifically want or don't want. That would be good. All right. Peace out, man, and bye.